If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. James Madison, 1788.
He's known as the father of the Constitution, but James Madison was still a young man when he began shaping American political policy. At 25, he assisted in writing the Virginia State Constitution. He was the youngest member of the Continental Congress at age 29, and at just 36, he personally wrote much of the United States Constitution, the document that would serve as the foundation for America's new government. Madison's physical bearing made him seem even younger. He was 5'4" and about 100 pounds, with a soft voice that seldom carried to chamber back benches. To help compensate for his height, he adopted a springy walk that made him appear taller. He was from Virginia, where he was born to a slave-holding family and raised at Montpelier, his family's estate. He attended what is now Princeton University in New Jersey, where, already ambitious, he tried to do without sleep so he could study more. Known to friends as Jemmy, Madison was 43 when he began courting Dolly Payne Todd, a widow living in Philadelphia with a young son. Aaron Burr, Madison's friend from their days at Princeton, arranged for an introduction. In a letter to her best friend, Dolly wrote enthusiastically of meeting the man she called the Great Little Madison. The Madisons were married in September of 1794. They never had children of their own. They moved into the president's house in March of 1809. He was the nation's fourth president, serving 2 terms until 1817. George Clinton and Elbridge Gerry were his 2 vice presidents. Though Madison's policies weren't universally adored, his wife certainly was. Unlike her husband, who dressed in black, played chess, and suffered from anxiety attacks, Dolly Madison was vivacious, liked cards, and wore bright colors, silks, and turbans. All of Washington wanted to enter what author Washington Irving called the blazing splendor of her drawing room. In 1812, Mrs. Madison arranged the first wedding held at the White House. She also initiated 2 Washington customs, the inaugural ball and an annual Easter egg roll. Madison's administration coincided with the War of 1812, which in 1814 escalated to include attacks on American soil. Mrs. Madison was home planning a dinner party for 40 when the sounds of approaching British cannons frightened her into fleeing the president's house, her pet parrot in tow. She's also reported to have rescued Gilbert Stuart's painting of George Washington. Soon afterwards, the British set fire to the president's house, but not before eating the dinner Mrs. Madison's cooks had prepared, and the home was swiftly reduced to a charred, burned-out shell. Reconstruction efforts took 3 years. Most of this time, the first couple stayed in a Washington home called Octagon House. After the presidency, the Madisons retired to Montpelier. He became a gentleman farmer and succeeded his good friend Thomas Jefferson as the rector of the University of Virginia. Nevertheless, their finances dwindled. He fell ill in June of 1836. As the summer wore on, his doctor offered him stimulants to keep him alive for the 4th of July, so that he, like Adams, Jefferson, and Monroe, might die on the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Madison waved off such a notion, however, and died on the morning of June 28, 1836. He was 85.